A man goes to the movies, and all he has is the summation of his life events and the movie projected back to him. And with that, he makes a decision and he decides, how is this movie? Reserve seating starts now. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Reserve Seating. We are in the final week of Joe Monthtegna, and we are talking about Michael Lehman's Airheads, starring Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler. And we're joined by the third Lone Ranger himself, Patrick Bromley. How you doing, buddy?
I'm the biggest airhead you guys know.
So, Airheads, I read was before we get into the review proper and how it was Joe Mantegna and everything. Before we started recording, I read that this is the movie. The commitment to Airheads was what prevented Michael Lehman from directing Ed Wood, which is a real sliding doors.
Ooh,
Yeah,
It's for the best.
I think so.
I would agree with that.
Where are we on Michael Lehman? Are we generally fans?
It's hard to defend him that hard. Obviously, Heathers is a classic, and we're fans of Hudson Hawk because we've caught the excitement.
It's right
But
there.
his movies
You
tend to
just
be
gotta reach.
like
Just gotta reach for it. It's right there.
Airheads is fine, Truth About
Yeah,
Cats and Dogs is fine. Like he's not
dream.
anything super special. I don't think he's ever fulfilled the promise of Heathers.
No. And then
What about 40 Days, 40 Nights? I think that fulfills the promise of others. I don't. I'm just saying 40 Days, 40 Nights set the standard for 21st century relationships. That's all I'm saying. Airheads is a movie that I came to just sort of as a cable movie. Like I think I saw the trailer for it probably before another 20th Century Fox summer 94 movie like Speed. And I thought, oh, that looks funny. And then it was out of theaters in like 2 weeks.
mhm.
And I was busy watching The Mask and Clear and Present Danger, and I just didn't have enough Jolly Ranchers to take with me to the movies. And I was waiting to refill my Jolly Rancher supply. And by the time the Jolly Ranchers arrived, I didn't have it was out of theaters. What can I say?
I saw it in theaters. I
You
went
did?
to the yeah, it was a mall movie. I went with my friend Ed, who has since passed away.
Oh,
Big ups
Yeah.
to Ed. And then I've seen it 100 times since on cable.
yeah. I was gonna say I joked to Adam or to both of you. I think like this is like I didn't know that this was a full movie. I've seen this movie in 20-minute chunks after school on Comedy Central every day for months and months, and it really was one of those after school like clockwork. Like it would be on, and I would watch like usually like I would get home around the time they were already in the studio. They were already holding things up. That's why like the first 20 minutes of this movie I'm watching, it's like I don't know how many times I've actually seen the whole it's like Speed, how there's that act you forget about before the bus. It's like, oh, but there is that whole thing before they take over the radio station that I don't think I've seen nearly as often as I've seen that middle 40 minutes where, whatever it was, like before I had to eat dinner or like go to work in high school, after school, that phase in between. I've seen that 40-minute chunk of Airheads 1,000 times.
This was a weird watch for me because I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I was more focused on Joe Mantegna than I've ever been in while watching Airheads because I'm obviously just like
Yeah.
the main trio is pretty fun, and you're either like just on board for all three of them, or you're like, oh, I'm in an Adam Sandler mood tonight. I'm like really honing into what he's doing, but this time I was just like, good for Joe Mantegna. He's like committing to the bit. He's really going for it. I believe him as like, the 70s classic rock DJ who's a
Oh,
little bit long in the tooth and is trying to stay relevant, but he's still kind of like a little acidic and like dismissive of like the current rock trends. And I think it's like kind of an interesting character that he probably brings a little bit more shading to than if it was just played by whomever.
this is like a movie that I really don't think could exist much further past, was it 95, right? 90, is that when this comes out?
94.
94.
Yep.
94. Like it's such a, and I mean this in a positive, like it's such a Gen Xy, like it's, pre 9/11, like it's in that grunge period where, and they comment on this. There's that funny moment where the newscaster comments on how like they don't have real problems and this angry youth and all that. But just the idea of like it's almost an Empire Records situation where like selling out was such still a big part of the
Mm.
culture of like kids and music and young people at the time, where like the idea of these guys being the heroes based on what they're doing, the ethos of the Michael McKean character versus, as you said, the Joe Mantegna character, and like just that whole scene and the movie playing its relationship to like there's the Rodney King thing where you're like, there's a lot of spinning plates here where this would only be okay, I think, at this time.
Well, and you have such a cast of like people who are kind of about to blow up,
Right.
people who are just familiar character actors doing another part, and I feel like since you made the Empire Records comparison, I do feel like the way that this differs from Empire Records is that this movie is entertaining and watchable.
Yeah, I also I don't know if it's just because like they're such goofs, but like this was the first watch where I was like, no, their song is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I like that touch to the movie that it's not, that they're idiots, but they're also untalented musicians and like the whole thing is a joke. And I like that they're fighting for their band's integrity at the end where it's just like, no, we know we're good. Like just give us a chance. And it's
Yeah.
not they're taking the easy way out where they're just like, oh, okay, like we've got this fame or infamy because of this hostage situation, and that's really all that matters, and we're fine, like pantomiming and everything like that. So I don't know. This movie hit me on a deeper level than usual on Friday night this weekend. I really enjoyed it.
No, I love this movie. I really do. And
Yeah.
it's Rich Wilkes is the screenwriter who has background in music and will go on to write other things. But this movie feels like it was written by somebody. I don't want to say like, oh, it's so authentic, but like it's written by somebody whose heart is and head are both in the right place with regards to what they want to say. There's a sense of humor about it where the guys are it's you're able to poke fun at them. You're able to
Mhm.
poke fun of at this culture of music and celebrity and what it means. Like I love when he puts the mic in front of him. He's like, okay, what do you want to say? Well, we want to be heard. Great. What do you want to say? Like there's a little bit of that too. And this script is so full of raw bullshit. Like it's all like setups and payoffs and like character things, like character arcs that get like mentioned here and then they pay off later and like little just all that stupid stuff that I love.
I was just going to say what this movie does not need is Michael Richards climbing through an air
No,
duct.
absolutely not. No.
That's just like, well, he's a thing, right? Can we stick him somewhere in the
Can
movie?
we put
And
him
I
in
have to give
there?
this movie credit for using my very favorite replacement song, which is Unsatisfied off of Let It Be, in the scene where he's squirt gunning the burrito.
Yeah,
That's a good song.
Yeah,
that's
like
all.
when I saw this in '94, I was like, whoa, I didn't know anybody but me knew this song because that song and that band were popular before I was listening to music. So they're putting it on as like an oldie, but to me, it was like a song I discovered in the last 5 years.
Have you ever had this where like you remember a song, but you don't remember where you heard it, and it's like kind of stuck in your head for years? And then like I remember not this watch of Airheads, but I watched it probably within the last couple years again, and that was like, oh, Unsatisfied. That's from Airheads. And this
Well,
time I had kind of my replacements moment with the song London by Anthrax,
mm,
and I'm slowly learning first from the song Bordello of Blood from the movie Bordello of Blood by Anthrax and
okay,
London by Anthrax by Airheads that gonna piecemeal a greatest hits of Anthrax for myself through movies
nice.
that I just watch for with no purpose. So,
I think they have a song on the Bogus Journey soundtrack as well.
All right, well there you go. You're helping me out.
That's what I'm here for.
I think more so than the Michael Richards thing. I wish I could go back in time and convince them not to do the Beavis and Butthead thing.
Yeah, that doesn't age, but
That's a perfect bit.
I had a nostalgia moment because it's the stuff that would make me laugh when I was 12 that doesn't make me laugh now, but I remember I'm like, "Oh, when he called him a butt puppet, I thought it was so funny." Or like when he's like, "I know you think I'm a real dick cheeseburger." I'm just like, "Where's his Oscar?"
and I will say, like, we don't get to watch movies for Joe Mantegna so far that really the emotional crux of the movie is kind of with Joe. And one of the other things I really love about this movie is so much of the way this movie pitches over the course of the story. Speaking of the screenplay, is as Joe's character starts to align himself with the Airheads. You know, like I love watching him watch them and gradually start to realize, like, oh no, these guys are rock and roll. Like I'm on your side, and like I think that he really carries a lot of that across the finish line. So if we're going to get into Joe, as we should.
Hmm.
I think this is one of my favorites of, this might be my favorite Joe performance specifically of the month.
I can see that. Um, do
You
you
guys
have
did
like
watch
an M
Homicide this month, right?
we
That's why I said Homicide's a better movie. I think that, anyway, forget it. Let's move on.
do you guys have an MVP in this movie? I'll start. For some reason for me this time it was a tie between Reggie Cathy and David Arquette. They just kept cracking me up, like how
David Arquette says the line in this movie that I've quoted for years that I don't think I realized until I did a rewatch of this during
Mhm.
94 month when he's like, you guys are all woohoo and shit. Like I've been saying you guys are all woohoo and shit for 20 years, 30 years now, and I didn't remember that it was from Airheads.
So we're coming into the end of Joe Mantegna month. Oh God, Joe Monthtegna. It's been a long month, Tanya. Let's rank the Joes that we watched. Patrick, we'll start with you. Forget Paris, Liberty Heights, Homicide, Airheads. Where would you go from whether it's bottom to top or top to bottom? Your call.
Having never seen Forget Paris, I'm putting it last.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go Liberty Heights,
Mhm.
then my Airheads, and then Homicide on top.
I'm gonna
Do you
go.
rather see a Michael Lehman Homicide or a David Mamet Airheads?
David Mamet Airheads.
Yeah, Liberty Heights. Um, forget Paris, but like it's close. And then Airheads, and then Homicide.
I'm gonna go in good conscience. I got to go with the same ranking as you, Rob.
Sure.
I would much rather watch Airheads than Homicide, but
Sure.
if I'm weighing quality and rewatchability, I gotta go Homicide then Airheads. Then yeah, it's Forget Paris is fun. The only one I didn't really enjoy all that much this time was Liberty Heights, but that wasn't a Joe Mantegna problem.
No,
So
no, no. All right,
that's it.
that's it.
That's it.
Joe month is
So
over.
there's not going to be a Benuary?
We're always around the corner from a Benuary, you
This
know.
this unlocked a whole new thing for us. So this will carry us for the next 500 episodes.
So we're gonna be back next week with a holiday mailbag
There we go.
because it means we don't have to watch anything. This
Here's
video
your
is
first
coming out.
question. Number one,
Oh,
what do you guys have against Empire Records?
Yeah, answer that.
yeah. So I mean, Patrick, he sends me a text every Thanksgiving of a list of all the things he's thankful for. He's never put Empire Records on there. Since this is airing the day after Thanksgiving,
Yes.
what are your both of you? What are your top three Thanksgiving Day foods that you're gonna eat yesterday?
Boring. Mine are boring. I love a slice of turkey. I love a pineapple stuffing. And I love a green bean casserole.
Okay, that's not
I
boring at all.
I like turkey. I like Erica's uncle makes this really good stuffing. I like that. And maybe like a sweet potato.
Ooh,
Mhm.
gosh, you're
I'm
sweet.
gonna, I'm gonna go with a baker's square pie,
Mm.
preferably French silk. Um, sweet potatoes with marshmallows, and that cranberry right out of the can. None of the pits or the junk in it. Just straight gelatin.
You know what? Between the three of us, if you made that plate, I would eat it. That's a nice rounded Thanksgiving plate.
Hmm. And if you guys are watching this and thinking about, oh shit, my aunt made a dry bird and it ruined Thanksgiving, fear not. Check out a local restaurant. They might have a leftover sandwich. Have you ever had the leftover sandwich? The leftover sandwich is a work of art.
I know Wahlburgers makes a Thanksgiving burger, which is like a turkey burger with all the, cranberry
Mhm.
sauce and stuffing like piled on it.
Well, we have the gobbler. Anybody in Wawa range on the East Coast of the United States and the sort of Northeast knows the gobbler. And if you don't know the gobbler, Google the gobbler. The gobbler is essentially the Thanksgiving sandwich on a hoagie roll, and it's inedible. I fucking hate it, but people love it.
That reminds me, in January, we're kicking off a special charity called Wahlburgers for Flight Risk, where we give out Wahlburgers to the needy people who are going
Anybody
to
need a
be flight
pilot,
risk.
bro?
Uh,
I put stuffing on my burger, bro.
I'm gonna throw this in cryo, keep it extra, keep it fresh an extra day. All right.
that's
Thank you, Joe, for
thanks,
all you
Joe.
do. We mean Montegna, not Biden. And
So, coming down hard on Empire Records and Joe Biden.
and that's our show for today.
What is happening?
These
America.
seats are reserved.
These seats are reserved except for Joe Biden.